Hi. So I thought I'll share my thoughts on the recent cricket, which is T20 cricket. So I think, I thought it might be worthwhile to just dwell on what are the pros and cons, for the game as such. So let's dive right into it. So in terms of what are the pros, I think the biggest advantage really of T20 cricket is that we are able to attract new audiences. So we have um, families tuning into the game which never really followed Test or ODI cricket before. And then also from a player standpoint, we have different nations who've really traditionally not played cricket. So they're also can really play the cricket because the gulf in terms of what the required skill set and where they currently are at, that is much lower than some of the other formats of the game. So the entry barrier, if I can put it, is much lower from a skill standpoint. So those are the two big advantages that I see that can help grow the game in the future. I think another advantage that we will see is transfer from a bowling standpoint. This is, by the way, is bowlers, leveraging the skills that they've learned in this format. They can actually use that in Test and ODI cricket as well. Just to give you an example, we have Bumrah, who is a very fine Test bowler, but then he really made a name for himself in the white ball format. He burst through the scene, doing well in the ODI format, and then we saw him do well in Test cricket. So what we saw is he could actually use the Yorker and the variations in Test cricket too. So I think those are some of the advantages that I see. Now let me quickly talk to you about the disadvantages. I think the biggest concern from my standpoint is that this is it has some long-term implications in terms of the balance between bat and ball. So Test cricket and ODI cricket, there is also an element of challenge between bat and ball. But in T20 cricket, what we see is, and what we've seen more so in the last few years, is that the the uh, the balance is kind of tilted heavily in the favor of batters. So there really is no challenge, and the problem with what I see is that going forward, this will actually impact the skill set of not just the batters but also the bowlers, and we may see some of the skills that are required, though that um, may go away. Things that we associate with proper cricket. So that's what I'm really concerned about. When I say proper, what I mean is playing the ball with the right technique. In T20, you don't really need to have the right technique to to play either as a batter and even as a bowler. It really is about having those variations. For example, you have these fast bowlers, and the ones that are successful are the ones which have a very good slower ball. And you see these spinners; they're bowling much faster. So it's kind of ironic that we don't have um, fast bowlers really leveraging on fast bowling, and similarly spinners trying to bowl faster and flatter. So I think that's a concern. So where is the element of guile, the element of of beating the batsman or the batter in the flight, that seems to be going away. So that's, I think, a big concern as far as a very fundamental element of the game is concerned in terms of the balance between bat and ball. The other problem that I see is, I think we're going to see a mushrooming of leagues. So a lot of T20 leagues going to grow, and this is all. So we have a limited calendar in the year. So this might come at the expense of some of the other formats. International cricket, such as maybe ODI or T20 or Test cricket, can suffer. So I think the administrators really need to be very careful, and then make sure that all these elements, these different formats, they actually thrive together, and it's not a question of one or the other, but it's a question of and this. And so that's, I think, going to be tricky. It's not going to be easy, because I think from a broadcaster standpoint, T20 is much more viable, especially in countries outside of India, Australia, and England. So yeah, those were my initial thoughts.